She froze when the door creaked open at midnight. From behind the curtain, Linda watched her fiancé, David, whispering to her bridesmaid, Rita, the woman she called sister. Their voices were low, but one sentence struck her like thunder. Once she takes the last pill, by morning she's gone. Her heart raced. Those vitamins he gave her every night, poison. Her own wedding day was meant to be her funeral. She clutched her chest, struggling to breathe, realizing that love had been nothing but a beautiful trap. But destiny had other plans. With the help of her loyal doctor, she would turn her death into a weapon, and her funeral into a stage of truth. As mourners wept, she'd be there, listening from inside her own coffin. Because sometimes the dead see clearer than the living. And that's where her story truly began. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. The morning sun rose over the luxurious Alade estate, painting the sky with gold and pink, as if heaven itself was blessing Linda's wedding day. The scent of white roses filled the mansion, and the echo of laughter rippled through the halls. To everyone watching, she was the luckiest woman alive, the only daughter of a billionaire, marrying the man of her dreams. But behind Linda's smile was a quiet storm brewing in her heart. Her dress shimmered like starlight, every bead catching the morning rays. Makeup artists fluttered around her, adjusting her veil, dusting her cheeks with powder. "You're glowing, ma'am," her maid, Amara, said softly. Linda nodded, forcing a smile. She wanted to believe it, that she was truly glowing from happiness, not from fear, because last night had changed everything. When she overheard David's voice whispering in the dark, her world shattered. She had gone to check on him, just to share a nervous laugh before the big day. And instead, she found him in the garden, his phone pressed close to his lips. "Don't worry," he whispered. "Once she collapses tonight, everything will be ours. The will is already in my favor. You'll have the ring. I'll have the money." The line went quiet, but then she heard a woman's laugh. Familiar, too familiar. Rita, her best friend, her bridesmaid, her supposed sister. Linda's knees almost gave way. She wanted to scream, to confront him, but her heart told her to wait, to see how deep the betrayal went. She returned to her room that night, staring at the bottle of vitamins he had insisted she take daily. "Good for your health," he had said. Her hands trembled as she opened it, noticing the bitter scent that wasn't there before. That night she didn't take them. Now, standing before the mirror, she felt both powerful and broken. David entered the room with his usual charming smile, his tuxedo fitting him perfectly, his lips curving like the devil wearing innocence. "My bride looks like a goddess," he said, brushing a kiss on her cheek. The touch made her flinch. "Thank you," she replied, her voice trembling just enough to pass for emotion. He handed her a glass of juice. "Drink up. You'll need energy for the ceremony." She stared at it, orange, thick, glistening. Then she smiled faintly and set it down. "Later, darling. My stomach's fluttering." He grinned, unaware that her eyes had already opened to his lies. The wedding ceremony began under the sprawling white canopy, filled with senators, business magnates, and distant relatives dressed in gold. Cameras flashed. The choir sang softly as Linda walked down the aisle, her steps graceful but heavy. David waited, wearing a grin so convincing even angels might have believed him pure. But as the priest began the vows, the world spun. Linda's vision blurred. Her chest tightened. She gasped. Panic rippled through the crowd. Her mother screamed. Her father rushed forward. And David, oh David! His act was perfect. He caught her in his arms, shouting, "Somebody help! My wife!" Only she could feel the fake tremble in his grip. Within minutes, the ambulance siren echoed. Dr. Felix, their family physician, pushed through the chaos, his calm demeanor hiding the shock in his eyes. He had seen this coming. The tests he ran days before confirmed it. The pills were laced with poison. He had begged Linda to confront David, but she had whispered instead, "No." Let's make him believe he's succeeded. Inside the ambulance, her breath slowed. The monitors beeped once, then went flat. David fell to his knees outside, performing grief like theater. Reporters would later say he fainted. Cameras caught him weeping against her lifeless hand. By noon, the headlines were everywhere. Billionaire bride dies on her wedding day. Tragic collapse shocks nation. The estate drowned in sorrow. Or so it appeared. Rita wore black before sunset, crocodile tears smudging her mascara. David refused to eat, but he didn't refuse to call the lawyer. He demanded an early reading of the will. For closure, he said. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit private ward of St. Helena's Hospital, Dr. Felix leaned over Linda's still body and whispered, "They believe you're gone. It's time to begin." Her eyelids fluttered open. She took a slow, painful breath. "Good," she whispered. "Now let's see who cries real tears." By midnight, the coffin had been delivered to the Alade mansion. No one knew that beneath the silk lining, beneath layers of perfect stillness, the bride was very much alive, listening, waiting, watching. And as the first night of mourning began, Linda, hidden behind death itself, smiled faintly to the sound of Rita's laughter downstairs. Because now it wasn't just about love. It was about justice. The night of Linda's wake was supposed to be sacred, a quiet vigil for the dead. But inside the Alade mansion, whispers of greed danced louder than prayers. Candles flickered across the marble hall, their glow bending against gold-framed portraits of the family's wealth. Mourners came in waves, some shedding real tears, others just curious to witness the tragedy of a billionaire's daughter gone too soon. But unknown to all, beneath the polished coffin that sat in the center of the room, Linda's eyes were open in the dark. The faint hum of oxygen from the hidden mask under her veil kept her breathing. Dr. Felix's secret design had worked. She was alive, buried in sight of everyone. Her mind was calm, but her heart thundered as she listened. Every whisper above her was a revelation. "She should have signed the new will," a woman murmured. "She was too proud," another replied. Then came the voice that froze Linda's blood. "David, once the lawyer confirms her will tomorrow," he said in a low tone, "everything transfers to me as the spouse. Rita will finally be free." Rita's laugh, soft, seductive, cruel, drifted through the air. "And to think she trusted me enough to make me maid of honor. I almost pity her." Linda pressed her fingers against the lining, steadying herself. Every word was a knife, but each cut strengthened her resolve. A sudden shuffle of feet. Someone else approached the coffin. The voice was deeper, rougher. George, her driver. He spoke quietly, as if to the air. "Madam, wherever you are, I failed you." I saw the way he looked at Rita. I heard their calls, but I didn't speak. "Forgive me." His voice broke. "I loved you, still do." Linda's heart trembled. That was the first honest voice she had heard all night. The hours crept by. Her father spoke briefly, too quickly, his tone distant. She was a good daughter. A shame. Her stepmother wept beside him, not from pain, but from relief. Linda could almost picture her smirk when no one was watching. She had always hated that Linda inherited her late mother's estate. Then came Ella and Kevin, her step-siblings. They whispered near the coffin, unable to contain their greed. "So, who gets the mansion?" Kevin asked. Ella giggled. "Who cares? I just want her jewelry collection." Even in the silence that followed, their laughter lingered. Linda's body went cold, not from fear but from realization. She had built her life around snakes dressed as family. Hours later, when the crowd thinned, Dr. Felix entered the hall under the guise of checking the preservation process. The guards nodded him through. Once the doors shut, he bent over the coffin and whispered, "They're gone. You can breathe." Linda pushed the lid slightly, gasping for air. Sweat beaded her forehead as she whispered, "I heard everything." Dr. Felix nodded grimly. The recording device worked perfectly. "Every word is saved." She smiled faintly. "Good. Tomorrow, at the will reading, the world will hear it." Before leaving, Felix hesitated. Are you sure you're ready to face them all? Once this starts, there's no turning back. Linda's eyes burned with determination. I died once already. I have nothing left to lose. The following morning, the mansion buzzed again. This time not with grief, but with anticipation. David wore a black suit and a victorious smirk. Rita, pretending to be fragile, clung to his arm. Kevin and Ella whispered jokes at the back, while Linda's father argued with the lawyer about shares and inheritance percentages. At exactly 10 o'clock, the lawyer stood before them, opening a sleek folder. Before we begin, Miss Linda left a video message to be played posthumously. The room fell silent. David's expression twitched, but he quickly forced a sad smile. "Play it," he said, voice breaking in false emotion. The screen flickered, then Linda appeared. Alive, radiant, her eyes sharper than ever. "If you're watching this," she began, "then you already know I'm gone, or so you think. But before my death, I discovered truths that shattered me." Her voice was steady, calm, cold. "The man I loved poisoned me. The woman I called sister betrayed me. The family I trusted only saw me as a bank account." Gasps filled the room. Rita's hands trembled. Kevin tried to laugh it off. "This has to be fake." But Linda's image continued. "I have recordings, every whisper, every plan. You plotted at my own wake keep, forgetting that the dead still listen. The world will hear the truth today." Then her voice softened. "To my mother, I forgive you. I know now you never left by choice. To George, you were the only one who truly cared." David shot to his feet, shouting, "This is nonsense. She's dead." But then the doors creaked open. Every head turned, and there she was, Linda, alive, dressed in white, calm as dawn, flanked by police officers and Dr. Felix. The air vanished from the room. David stumbled back, his skin pale, his mouth opening and closing like a trapped fish. Rita screamed. Linda walked in silence, each step echoing like thunder. She faced David with tearful calm. "You should have buried your greed with me." The officers moved forward. "David Alade, Rita Johnson. You are under arrest for attempted murder." As they were led away, Linda turned to her step-siblings, then her father. "You all showed me what love isn't. Thank you for the lesson." Her mother, shaking, rose from the back row, tears glistening. "Linda, you're alive." Linda's voice softened. "Because of you, I have strength. And because of them, I've learned what truth costs." As she walked out with George and Dr. Felix, the hall behind her filled with chaos. Reporters, gasps, and disbelief. But for Linda, peace had finally begun. The morning after the arrest, the news spread like wildfire across the nation. Headlines blazed with disbelief. Billionaire bride rises from the dead, husband and bridesmaid arrested for attempted murder. Cameras camped outside the Alade estate. Drones buzzed above the gate. And social media couldn't stop replaying the moment Linda walked in, alive, glowing, defiant. To some, she was a miracle. To others, a ghost returned for justice. But to Linda, she was simply a woman reclaiming her life. Inside her mother's cozy home, far from the mansion that once felt like a prison, Linda sat quietly by the window, sipping tea. The city below bustled with gossip and noise, but her heart finally felt light. Dr. Felix arrived with gentle pride. "You caused quite the storm," he said, chuckling softly. "Half the nation thinks you're a legend." Linda smiled faintly. "And the other half thinks I'm crazy." He shrugged. "Sometimes you have to lose your mind to find your truth." She laughed for the first time in weeks. A soft, real laugh that carried no pain. But then her eyes dimmed slightly. "I still can't believe David and Rita planned all that. And my own family." Felix sighed. "Greed has no bloodline, Linda. It's not who shares your name. It's who shares your heart." Before she could answer, the doorbell rang. George stood outside, holding a small bouquet of white lilies. He looked nervous, his uniform crisp but his eyes humble. "Good morning, madam," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. Linda smiled, waving him in. You can stop calling me that, George. It's just Linda now. He looked down shyly. Old habits die hard. They sat together on the porch, silence hanging between them until George finally spoke. I wanted to say, I'm sorry for not warning you earlier. I should have told you about David and Rita. I should have. Linda placed her hand gently on his. You don't owe me apologies. You saved me with your honesty, even if it came late. He looked at her, eyes glistening. When I saw you lying in that coffin, I thought I'd lost you forever, and it hurt more than I expected. Linda's lips curved softly. Maybe we were both meant to learn something from all this. He hesitated, then smiled. Like what? She looked out at the horizon. That love isn't proven by words or weddings. It's proven by presence, by who stays when the lights go out. Just then, her mother stepped out, her gray scarf fluttering in the wind. Linda, she called gently. The lawyer just called. The court approved your new inheritance structure. Linda nodded, already knowing what she had done. The mansion was donated to a children's foundation. Her step-siblings got nothing, not out of spite, but to teach them the cost of greed. Her father and stepmother were given a symbolic 1 naira each, a reminder that love, not money, sustains family. But George was named as the managing director of her late mother's charity foundation. You always had integrity, she told him earlier. Now I want you to use it to help others. As afternoon sunlight spilled across the veranda, Linda leaned back and exhaled deeply. For the first time, the air didn't smell of fear. I lost everything, she whispered. But somehow I gained peace. George looked at her, admiration soft in his gaze. You didn't lose everything. You just buried what wasn't meant for you. They shared a quiet smile. And in that moment, no fancy ring, no crowd, no choir. Love found its way back, pure and unhurried. Days turned into weeks. David and Rita faced trial, their names dragged through every headline. The evidence from the recordings sealed their fate. Linda attended one hearing, not for vengeance, but for closure. As she walked past them in the courtroom, she met David's empty eyes. For a second, he looked human, broken, desperate. But she simply said, "May your conscience haunt you longer than prison ever could." When she stepped outside, reporters swarmed. "Miss Alade, do you have any message for your viewers who followed your story?" one asked. She smiled directly at the cameras. "Yes," she said. "Never let betrayal harden your heart. Let it sharpen your wisdom." That single clip went viral, millions of views overnight. People across the world called her the bride who outsmarted death. But Linda didn't care for fame. She only wanted freedom. She moved away from the city, settling near the ocean, where the waves sounded like peace. George visited often, and sometimes they worked together at the foundation, helping women who had survived toxic relationships. One evening, as the sunset kissed the sea, George turned to her and asked softly, "Do you ever regret faking your death?" Linda laughed. "No, because I finally learned how to live." She lifted her hand slightly, showing the simple silver ring he had given her. Not diamonds, not gold, but engraved with one word, truth. And as the wind whispered through the palms, Linda finally felt whole again. No longer the billionaire bride who died for love, but the woman who lived for herself. Moral of the story: sometimes life buries us just so we can rise wiser. Linda's story reminds us that betrayal may break your trust, but it can never erase your strength. Real love doesn't need wealth or promises. It needs truth, loyalty, and time. So when the world turns against you, don't fight to be seen. Fight to be free. If this story touched you, like this video, subscribe to King's Folklore, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters.